Yandy recently revealed a bombshell that sent shockwaves across the love and hip-hop Atlanta scene. She is disclosing hidden texts between Mendeces and Erica Mena, many of which are related to Scrappy's brand new pregnancy announcement. Fans are also stunned. Learn this behind closed doors. Loyalties moved in whispers and emojis as the group celebrated the newborn, and Mendeces and Erica exchanged messages implying an unexpected partnership. Emotions were strong when a leaked screenshot was shared. Late-night confessions and frantic apologies forced Yandy to demand the truth on camera. The family was divided as tensions rose between the trio, with long-standing friendships hanging by a thread. Was this just casual conversation, or was it a deliberate power play that threatens to rewrite relationships? Tonight, we'll unpack every secret text, every stunned reaction, and every unspoken motivation driving this explosive drama. Buckle up. Nothing remains secret in Atlanta for long. Yandy raced into the green room, gripping her phone as a lifeline, heart hammering with a blend of rage and disbelief. Just hours before, she and the rest of the group celebrated Scrappy's new baby announcement. Laughter and congratulations rang through the air. The same group remained silent as she held up the television, accusing eyes fixed on Mendeces. The leaked screenshot gleamed in the faint light. He exchanged a series of late-night texts with Erica Mena, messages brimming with concern and hidden urgency. Fans were surprised to hear that behind instead of participating in the delight, rumors flew in private talks during this festive event. Yandy demanded answers, her voice echoing off the walls, shattering the camaraderie that seemed unbreakable just days before. Mendeces was frozen in the doorway, his countenance a mix of remorse and dread. He opened his mouth to respond, but Yandy interrupted him, her fingers quivering as she scrolled. "Explain this," she snapped, pointing to the series of texts. Erica's name is bolded at the top, followed by deep apologies for being unable to keep this off camera. And Mendeces' own response, "I didn't want anyone to know." The room held its breath. The family was divided, torn between allegiance to a father figure and the betrayal depicted on a small screen. Scrappy, unaware to the private drama, disclosed his baby news. Now he stood awkwardly beside the craft table, perplexed by the unexpected tension that overshadowed his own moment of joy. Tasha K, ever the opportunist, lurked on the edge of the action. The phone was raised and a recording was made. She recognized instant gold when she saw it. "You don't need to see this," she said to her crew, streaming the scene of Mendeces' shame in real time. Hashtags like #Mendeces Textgate and Erica Mena conspiracy trended in minutes as followers scrutinized every pixel of the screenshot. Some speculated that Erica had manipulated him with promises of a comeback storyline, while others argued that Yandy had overreacted to innocent friendship. There were whispers that Erica's involvement began when Scrappy's baby producers exchanged eager smiles behind the cameras as the news threatened to take her attention. It was the bombshell they had been waiting for. Rashida bit her lip in a quiet corner, watching Yandy's fury. As someone who had weathered public betrayals, she understood the sting of private secrets. She approached Yandy gently, placing a calming hand on her shoulder. "Take a breath," she said softly. She was exposed, but she also understood that revelations could sometimes lead to catharsis. "We need to hear his side too." But Yandy shook her head, eyes burning. "I've heard enough," she whispered. "This feels like a knife in my back." The tension was taut, with a living thing pulsating between them. Fans made it clear on Twitter that this wasn't just family drama. This was a direct, uncensored look at trust broken. Meanwhile, Mendeces withdrew to the makeup trailer, his face covered in light studio powder that felt like a mask concealing more than just imperfections. He fell onto a stool, his shoulders sagging. His phone rested on the counter. Erica's notification light is blinking with unread texts. He tapped one, his hands shaking. "I thought you knew why I needed to talk. It wasn't because I didn't love you." Every word she spoke felt like a confession cloaked in secrecy, intensifying his internal struggle. The weight of treachery presses against his ribs were heavier than any handcuffs he'd ever faced. He could hear a low hum of behind the door. "Did you see the texts? So much for loyalty." The set's energy was charged with judgment and curiosity. Back in Yandy paced in circles in the green room, her mind racing with memories of her relationship with Mendeces. She recalled late-night calls that had once been intimate but were now contaminated by secret chats. Her assistant hovered nearby, a worried expression on her brow. "Would you like me to call his phone?" she offered. Yandy paused, her finger hanging over the screen. "No," she finally responded, her voice raw. "I want him here. I need him to say it right in my face." The assistant swallowed and stepped back, tension vibrating through the little room. The family was left divided. Those who encouraged Yandy to seek discourse, even some who murmured that the damage had already been done. Erica stared from a distance, lips squeezed together in a narrow line, as Yandy waited. She had consistently claimed that her acquaintance with Mendeces was innocent, founded on shared history and mutual respect. Okay. Her denials, however, now seemed hollow in the face of overwhelming proof. She stepped forwards, determined to defend herself. "Yay," she said, forceful but measured. "You need context." Her words hung in the air like a challenge, daring Yandy to listen. Fans applauded Erica's bravery on social media, complimenting her willingness to confront the situation allegedly helped create. Others blasted her for engineering a betrayal at the worst conceivable time. The tension had reached its climax. When Mendeces finally emerged from the trailer, his cheeks flushed and his eyes reddened. His gaze shifted between Erica's unwavering stare and Yandy's expectant expression. The silence lasted until he cleared his throat, his voice barely above a whisper. "I never meant to hurt you," he continued, approaching Yandy. "Erica and I were just talking about how to handle the media fallout of Scrappy's announcement. You know how these things spiral," he said, begging in earnest. But the text messages gleamed on Yandy's phone like neon accusations, and she closed her eyes, breathless. "So you say," she replied gently. Fans watching live felt as if they too were ensnared in the triangle of mistrust, as actions speak louder than words. The family was some castmates gathered behind Yandy, offering silent support, while others hovered near Erica, sensing an ally in her calm defiance. Tasha K took advantage of the opportunity, narrating every micro-reaction. "Look at that expression," she murmured into the camera. "That is the face of treachery." The drama was electrifying. A volatile combination of loyalty, jealousy, and an unwritten past ready to erupt at the slightest provocation. As part one came to, the room hummed with unresolved tension as the session came to a conclusion. Yandy stood with the proof of her anguish. Mendeces, the air on set crackled with suspense as Yandy's announcement resonated through every area. Studio crew members paused in mid-take, undecided whether to continue filming or retreat from the approaching storm. Mendeces leaned against the lights, Riggs' shoulders hunched, his typical swagger replaced with a tense silence. Erica hovered on the edge of the chaos, eyes fixated on Yandy's trembling phone screen as if it contained the solutions to a mystery she had created. Fans are stunned at how quickly celebration of new life turned into murmurs of betrayal. The joyful environment surrounding Scrappy's baby announcement gave way to a battleground of secrets and accusations. Tasha K grasped the opportunity to broadcast live to her enthusiastic audience. "This is more than just text," she exclaimed, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. "This is proof that loyalties can shift in an instant." Behind her, an assistant scrolled through social media, tallying thousands of comments ranging from furious condemnation to sympathetic outrage. Some people worried if Mendeces utilized Erica's influence to control the tale. Mendeces pulled away from the rig and approached Yandy, gingerly entering the circle that had formed. "I never meant to hurt you," he whispered, voice the hoarse. Yandy's head turned, her eyes burning. "So why hide it?" she responded, raising her phone. "Why didn't you tell me you were talking to her?" His gaze flickered to Erica, whose expression was unreadable. The courier of the leaked text stood motionless, remorse and defiance clashing in her posture. The room felt frozen in time as everyone waited for his response. He inhaled deeply. "We were only trying to handle Scrappy's major news," he stated, his voice quiet but eager. "I was concerned about how the announcement would play out. Erica and I thought we could handle public relations jointly." His remarks hovered in the air like an uneasy truce. Yandy's lips quivered. "So you believed I couldn't take part in that? Did you think I'd overreact?" She spat, agony piercing her tone. Fans watching live felt the ache in her remarks, recalling every time they had celebrated her courage. Emotions ran high. The confrontation highlighted fissures in their bonds. Erica stepped forward, palms lifted in an attempt to calm the tempest. "Yandy, you should comprehend my intention," she started quietly. "I never intended to undermine you. I noticed how overwhelmed you were and offered to help behind the scenes." She paused, her eyes moist. I now understand how concealment breeds suspicion. Her confession was welcomed with startled silence. No theatrical flourish, just a plain admission. Some cast members exchanged surprised glances, sensing a vulnerability had never seen before. In that calm moment, Erica's honesty was praised by social media users. Even as they questioned her initial motivations, Yandy lowered her phone, her breath ragged, and crossed her arms were tense with conflicting emotions. A beat of stillness passed before she gently nodded. "I get that you meant well," she continued, her voice trembling. "But transparency is everything," she said, looking at Mendeces, who agreed, his eyes filled with remorse. "We'll figure this out," he said. At that point, a collective breath rippled across the room, providing temporary comfort in a tempest of mistrust. However, the family remained divided. Memories of covert chats are too fresh to fade. Outside the studio doors, Scrappy strolled beneath the flickering marquee lights. He had returned from partying with friends to discover his happy news. Eclipsed by a scandal. As he checked text updates on his phone, his countenance was irritated and confused. "Y'all are crazy," he murmured before sending a group chat message. "Can someone fill me in?" Within seconds, Erica and Yandy's texts pinged one another, appealing for peace. The other laying leaves a trail of concealed communications. Scrappy raked his hand through his hair, struggling reconcile his brotherly bond with Mendeces with the fracture he has now witnessed. Back inside, producers took the opportunity to recover content. "Let's have a confessional," one stagehand murmured. Cameras swiveled, capturing Yandy's glistening eyes as she prepared to tell the truth. Erica and Mendeces stood off to the side, a tense scene of conflicting loyalties. Yandy took a deep breath as the red light turned on and recounted her late-night doubts, whispered reassurances found only in text, and her heartbreak at discovering a covert alliance when she least expected it. Viewers leaned in, fascinated to the candor that cut through the manufactured drama in the control room. Executives used split screens to track rating surges. The scandal increased viewership, which spread like wildfire across platforms. However, some grimaced at the cost of publicizing such intimate betrayals, believing it had gone too far. Early crew members arrived to find empty chairs on the main stage, with cables strewn like breadcrumbs leading back to yesterday's confrontation. Yandy entered first, still wearing the faint stain of yesterday's tears on her cheeks, and moved toward the wardrobe truck, passing small clusters of cast and crew. Erica arrived a few moments later, her hair freshly styled, but Yandy returned her tentative nod with a bittersweet smile and acknowledgement that was more powerful than any. They made a theatrical move as they stood together in the halogen glow, two ladies united by an unscripted narrative. Fans had already turned hashtags into digital battlefields, debating who deserved sympathy and who was the true villain, leaving the family divided even outside their immediate circle. As spectators at home picked sides and organized online, Mendeces went into the light next, hands loosely clasped in front of him. Without the physical shackles of cuffs, he felt a strange weakness, as though the invisible cords of guilt still bound him. When he saw Yandy and Erica standing together, he halted, his pulse pounding, and realized that simple acts of transparency and empathy would be enough to achieve redemption. "I know a hashtag doesn't fix things," he said softly, clearing his throat, "but I want you both to know that I am committed to being honest from now on." His words hung in the air, unadorned, and earned a quiet nod from each woman. On set, producers decided to capture rolling cameras followed Fedra, Rashida, and Papoose as they moved toward the round table, where yesterday's reunion had started a new chapter. They were already sitting, each witnessing the tentative calm building before them. The harsh glare of studio lights contrasted with the peaceful moment unfolding in their midst, like watching a battered vase slowly being patched back together. Yandy took a deep breath and sat down, her chair softly scraping against the laminate floor. Erica and Mendeces sat on either side, forming a visual trinity that represented both conflict and hope. "We've all been through hell this season," Yandy continued, voice steadier than she felt, "and while nothing can erase what occurred, I believe we can learn from it." Erica leaned in, placing her elbows on the table with a contemplative face. "We've seen how secrets can destroy," she concluded. "Today, I'm laying mine on the table." She pulled out her phone and opened a thread of text she'd shared with the network's public relations team, including drafts of apologies, requests to keep the paternity drama off social media, and proof that she'd been upfront with brand partners. As the television glow reflected in her eyes, she said, "I wanted to keep everyone safe from the media storm." Mendeces nodded, his eyes wet. "And I hid in those messages," he said. "I believed I was protecting Yandy, but instead I worsened the damage." He leaned across the table and gently touched Erica's hand. "Forgive me," he said. Millions of viewers of this show were watching as the borders between performance and truth blurred again. Emotions ran hot, and for a minute, the room seemed to sigh in relief, but then the sound of sneakers on concrete broke the fragile calm. Scrappy strode in, his face pale with tension. Scream had cracked from an earlier event, but its notifications were still flashing. "I just observed what happened," he said, his voice tight. "I may not know every detail, but I know my family deserves the truth." He softened his gaze on Yandy. "I never intended for my baby news to be overshadowed," he added. "I believe this would bring us together." Yandy's lips trembling. "It did, and then some," she said quietly. Scrappy took a seat next to Mendeces, studying the faces around him. "We need to decide how we move forward, together or apart," he added, his tone thoughtful. Rashida spoke out, her voice firm but friendly. "We're a family that thrives on drama." "Yes, but we're also bound by blood and history," Fedra answered. "And if we can't trust honesty anymore, what message are we sending?" Camera operators recorded every word, fully aware that this could be the most unscripted moment of the series. The trio exchanged glances. Sandy and Eric contemplate the fragility of trust. Yandy uncrossed her arms and put both hands on the table. "I want to inform our followers that, despite our imperfections, we are still a family," she stated, "but I will not sugarcoat it." Erica grinned with an unusual gentleness. "And I want to thank you for giving me a chance to make this right," the woman stated. Mendeces reached for Yandy's hand, rubbing his thumb against her knuckles. "This is our truth," he stated, "and this is the only story worth telling." During the emotional testimony, phones buzzed with live remarks. Viewers typed in real time, "This is real talk, and I respect them for admitting it. I'm here to help recover." The family was no longer split on social media. Right now, they rallied around the promise of progress. However, creators knew the next twist was never far away. Reality television thrives on the unexpected. Just then, an intern rushed in, short of breath. "Guys, public relations just disclosed that Erica's phone was hacked. Some texts may have been doctored," she blurted. The room froze. Erica's face had lost its color. "What?" Yandy blurted. Mendeces smashed his fist on the table, knocking over a water cup, which spilled across the scattered bills. Rashida let out a gasp. Scrappy's eyes narrowed. "So you are telling me that we have been apologizing for fakes?" he demanded. The buddies glanced at each other, realizing that the messages between you two have been edited after you have sent them. Silence fell. Yandy took her hands away from her face, her gaze wide. Erica exhaled. Her gaze reflected both relief and regret. Mendeces expelled a trembling breath. "So it wasn't you," he explained to Erica. "It was someone else trying to tear us apart." The family was left divided no longer by secrets, but by an unknown saboteur lurking in the wings before they could rejoice, the technician recalled. However, the hack occurred just hours before Yandy revealed the texts. Whoever did this predicted the fallout and timed it properly. The three exchanged apprehensive glances. Emotions ran high as they realized the true enemy could be hiding in the shadows rather than among them. Outside, cameras were focused on them, waiting to capture their next move in this cat-and-mouse game of betrayal and redemption. The stakes had just risen from personal drama to a greater mystery, testing their TIs like never before. The tension in the makeshift technology hub crackled as the forensic team delivered their results. An anonymous intruder had modified with the text records, taking advantage of a weakness in the messaging software. Yandy's shoulders slumped as Erica, Mendeces looked on. Their expressions reflected both relief and disbelief. For a brief moment, the trio stood together in shock at the new betrayal. Betrayal wounded deeper because it had exploited their trust in technology. Fans watching live felt their emotions race, torn between wrath at the sabotage and pity for the injured family. Yandy took a quiet step forward and closed her phone. The device felt heavier than ever in her hands. She caught Mendeces' eyes and gave a tentative grin. "So the texts weren't from you?" she asked quietly, her voice shaking. Mendeces breathed, the weight of his guilt easing in ragged breaths. "I've never." He stepped closer and whispered, "I wanted to hide anything." Erica nodded, her eyes glistening. "I'm sorry I doubted your intentions," she said, reaching out to grab Yandy's hand. In that simple action, they restored their splintered solidarity. The room exhaled as if it too had been holding its breath as they embraced. A murmur rippled among the crew and cast that had assembled nearby. Rashida dried her eyes and gave a proud grin. Phaedra's typical elegance relaxed into a warm smile of relief. Papoose gave a low whistle, shaking his head in admiration of the trio's fortitude. Scrappy joined the circle and wrapped an arm around Nandi's shoulders, which were tougher than the sports they played. He declared that the group had formed a living testament to the fact that adversity can forge bonds stronger than any storyline. But even as they celebrated, questions remained. Who hacked the messages? What motive drove such deception? Tasha K's crew hovered, recording devices at the ready. But just once, Erica moved forward to talk straight to the cameras. "We don't have all of the answers yet," she admitted, her voice steady but raw. But they were determined to discover the truth and each other. Her honesty resonated in stark contrast to the contrived drama that they had all grown accustomed to. Viewers reacted positively. Truth trumps drama, family remains strong, and revelation reset. The hashtag tech betrayal went viral, reflecting on the unexpected twist that turned a personal feud into a digital mystery. During those days, the producers then announced a special investigation episode, interviews with cybersecurity experts, exclusive access to the saboteurs' method, and never-before-seen reactions from the cast. The promise of deeper intrigue raised expectations. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, Yandy, Mendeces, Erica, and Scrappy met privately to plan how to tell their experience accurately. They agreed to publicize the hacking story as a cautionary tale, against trusting that they incorporate the digital age into their ongoing tale. Yandy, still disturbed from the incident, sat in front of a vanity mirror and rehearsed her ideas. She envisioned informing viewers how it felt to have her heartbreak exacerbated by a malicious stranger. Tears welled up, but she found courage in her dedication to honesty. When the cameras rolled for her confessional, she spoke with honest emotion. "I believed we were broken due of our secrets, but it turns out someone else tried to break us up. We now know the real truth, and I am determined to move on with open hearts and clear minds." Her remarks hit a chord, transforming personal pain into collective resilience. Mendeces prepared his own statement, reflecting regarding responsibility and forgiveness. In a quiet moment, he informed the group, "Even when I thought I was guilty, I learned about loyalty in its purest form." Yandy supported me, Erica spoke up with the truth, and Scrappy reminded me of what family truly means. No hacker can reverse that. He paused, his gaze sweeping across the team who had watched his transformation from shame to redemption. Fans admired his vulnerability, marking a departure from bravado as expected. Erica